So here we are. This is the start finish straight line. Okay, and we can start our circuit walk, Snetterton circuit walk from BritishGT DLC. Right, so start finish straight line. Let's go. You slowly and gradually move to the left hand of the road, and we instantly start with one of the most characteristics and most characteristic things of this circuit. The problem here is that it's very difficult to find reference points. It's really extremely difficult. We're gonna, try to find some reference points, but I tell you already, it's not gonna be easy. You will have to train your eyes to find the smallest reference points, and it is one of the difficulties of this circuit. So you arrive at this corner like in full speed, 5th gear. And this first corner is a double apex corner. It's faster than it looks, but you really need to nail it, because otherwise it's very easy to go a little bit wide and end up outside of the road. So the initial reference point to start when you're learning the car, to start braking, is obviously, as usual, the orange end of the guardrail, both at the right and at the left and right, maybe. And it is very soon. You will instantly, already at the second lap, you will learn that you will need to start braking way after this orange reference point here. But at least, it's your first reference point. You get an idea. Now, as I said, normally you need to go farther and farther ahead. Okay, and what I get as a reference point is, unfortunately, you go through the billboards here. Those probably won't even be there. It's really very difficult to find a reference point. My reference point is the crane over here. When I get close to the crane, depending on the car, you don't have to go away from the crane, so you have to brake a little bit sooner, okay? But when you are close, somewhere around here, and again, it depends on the car that you're driving, but somewhere around here is my reference point to, start braking. The better you get, the better your car is set up. You will brake a little bit later, but again, I'd hardly advise you to go over the crane or even close to it, okay? Just a little bit before that. And you need to go down to 3rd gear usually. You need to get into a very early apex right on here. Don't cut into the grass, but stay, just touch the curb on the right hand inside place over here. Just touch it, and again you will slide outside towards the left. But don't overdo it. Don't let the car go too much on the left, on the external placement of the road. Ideally, you want to just pinch the brakes a little bit, or even release and go into coast and rotate the car while you are still drifting away from the inside of the road. And once you are again having the car rotated to go towards the second apex of this double turn, this is where you can start accelerating. Don't overdo it, depending on the car. I mean, even with the most easily to rotate cars, it's very easy to raise your front end and go wide in understeer, okay? So you either have a car that still in 3rd gear in high revs can rotate with power, or you just go a little bit more gradually on the accelerator. You wait a little bit, maybe to come into this second apex, okay, and then start to accelerate. Okay, so you just touch again once and you start to accelerate right here, right before the end of the inside curb. Now, if you have done everything correctly, the car should rotate. You will keep on sliding towards the outside. don't overdo it with you know, steering input, because you're gonna end up in a lot of understeer, and hopefully you will end up on the curb and maybe a little bit on the green. It is a very nasty curb here, but if you end on the green, you still have the possibility to not touch the ground here. Just make sure to get back into the asphalt as soon as possible. I would not recommend it. Sometimes you cannot avoid it. I would not recommend it when you go over that curb. You see already the car how it was jumping about. You are going to engage the traction control and you're losing acceleration. So just, you know, touch a little bit the curb and just try to stay it and to avoid it. Do not go way over the curb like that. All right, so moving on. Exit the turn, full acceleration. Luckily, we have a 180 degrees hairpin here. It's no, it's not the slowest turn of the circuit, but almost the slowest turn of the circuit. But it sure is the most slow hairpin on the circuit. And luckily, we have an excellent reference point for braking, and it is this time the orange end of the guardrail here. So the pocket of the guardrail, just on the orange when it arrives at the edge of your screen, or even if you have just, you know, just went over it, depending again on the car and the speed you have. Hard on the brakes, very, very hard on the brakes, and try to brake as straight as possible. Do not go towards the turn. Straight as possible, hard braking, downshifting with rhythm, as we have always said. So bum, bum, bum. Do not, you know, downshift like crazy. And just, you know, watch the scary tree, you know, waving you around, and go straight. Now, as you arrive over here, and again, you have the end of the guardrail with the orange task over here. This is where you want to start to, you know, turn in, okay? While you turn in and you arrive at the start of the inner curb, this is the time that if you have done everything correctly, even if you feel some understeer, release the brakes, okay? Let the front tires get all the lateral grip they can, and you will see that there is enough camber, enough rubber on the road, and enough grip to keep you inside and have you make the turn. Now, don't go on, I mean, it's very easy, because if you actually release the brakes, okay, it's very easy to see that the car rotates, and it's very easy to say, okay, I'm over here, I can start, you know, I'm on the apex, I can start accelerating. Don't do that yet. There is still a lot of turn to do, and if you do it, you're gonna end up either too wide in understeer, if you're afraid to step on the accelerator, or if you are not afraid to step on the accelerator, you're gonna have a lot of oversteer, and that will also make your exit slower. So go in slightly on the accelerator or even coasting, stay here close and wait for the end of the sausage, okay, more or less. And at the end of the sausage, start the gradual acceleration. Don't overdo it. Gradual acceleration, and accompany the car outside. Now, ideally what you want to do is to take advantage of this asphalt over here and take the car wide, like this, okay, and place the curb underneath the middle of the car, and your tires on this part outside of the curb, okay? You don't want your tires to end up, your outside tires to end up on this curb, because it's going to be, again, very bumpy. Those curbs, let me show you, they are steps, and they are very, very nasty. You can see that. Yeah, it's not good to have your tires over here. It's going to bounce, and the traction control will, you know, go in and start. You can see how it goes up here, you see? It's really very, very nasty. So, what you want to do is, as I said, place the car here, alright? So that you get your outside tires over here, the curb goes just underneath the car, and the inside tires have to stay once more before the white line, because also at Snetterton we have the same limits, the track limits are on the white line, not at the curb as everybody everywhere else, but on the white line. Snetterton and Untitled Park, track limits, white line. So this is where you have to stay here, and you can see that over here you can really accelerate very fast and without big issues. And once the curb is done, just bring the car back in again. Okay. Once again, do this as usual only when you have enough pressure on the tires, because otherwise you're going to lose pressure. All right, so end of the hairpin, we go outside and we go right away to the right side of the road. Okay, now we arrive into a particular turn. You can brake very late. There is again this very discolored patch of grass over here. You can see it. Don't start. You can start braking here, but only for the first laps. The better you get, the more you see that the second discolored patch of the grass is your reference point. So you really can delay the braking here, arrive over this one. Okay, you see it's a double discolored patch. Let me show you also from ahead. This is one. Okay, so once you are arrived very closely with your visual into this discolored patch, you need to start braking very hard. This is a turn that you can do depending on the car, both in third or in second gear. I would also advise you to do the following. So downshift down to third gear, start coming inside. You can see there is flat outside surface on the road and camber towards the inner part of the road. So you need to stay closer. Okay, you won't have big problems to keep on braking and arriving up to the start of the inside camber. Okay, so you won't have big understeer problems, but after the start of the camber you might start to experience understeer problems. Okay, now at that point, again, once more I remind you, release the brakes. If you see that even by releasing the brakes the car still, you know, having some understeer, downshift down to second gear. Okay, so you're arriving third gear. If it stays, you know, on the apex close and you don't have big problems of understeer, stay in second gear, low revs, no big deal. If you're having understeer problems even by releasing the brakes, downshift down to second gear. The downshifting will bring the revs up on the engine. Higher revs will generate more engine brake, and that, because obviously it's gonna happen only on the rear tires, will help you to rotate the car. So rotate the car in second gear, stay again close to the apex. Okay, and wait, don't go into acceleration very soon here. You're gonna end up very wide, and I will show you why you don't want that to happen. So wait. Once you start seeing the end of the curb over here, this is where you want to go gradually on the accelerator. Once more, don't overdo it. Make sure that you are not going wide before the end of the curb. So make sure that while you are accelerating, if the curb is still here, the inner curb, you still need to stay close. If you're going wide, this means that you're gonna slide even more and you're gonna end up very wide at the exit, and you don't want this to happen, and I'll show you why. So go over here, acceleration now, hard acceleration, and it goes uphill. You're gonna have some understeer, and it might, you know, you might not have been able to avoid it, but I would advise you to avoid as much as you can to not go over here. Because once again we have a very nasty curb. Okay, and depending on the car, you see already how low the car is and how high those steps are. All right, so because you are arriving here with a lot of speed, okay, and the car rolls and so on, you're gonna touch the ground, you're gonna touch the curb, and it's gonna upset the car a lot. The whole car will jump around. It's really bad. It's really nasty. You don't want that to happen ideally. So my advice is yes, slide the car towards the outside, but remain, you know, just go and touch a little bit the curb like this. I mean, we are just touching the curb, and you can still see, oh my god, this is really nasty. You see how it goes up and down. It's really, really bad. So try to not go completely outside, all right? Okay, acceleration and out of this turn. Third, fourth gear. Now we are approaching one of the most difficult turns, frustrating turns. It's not that difficult, but it is frustrating because it's very, very easy to end up wide at the apex here, to miss the braking point and end up wide. So once again, we don't have any reference point over here, so we will try to find out the grass patches and get a reference point from there. I remind you once more, yes, it's not like that the grass patches, the discolored grass or the missing grass is something that we got from the laser scan here. But I remind you, it is absolutely true that if the drivers cannot find a reference point and they cannot paint, because on some circuits you can't go on the circuit and paint over the asphalt, little lines like that. So if they cannot find anything like that, they will go on the grass with the team or alone, and they will kick the grass and take it off and leave some marks for the reference point. This is, you know, a universal technique that pretty much everybody knows and does. So they are not placed there just because we just wanted to put them. Okay. All right. So once again, this color patch over here of the grass, this is your reference point. It also becomes a little bit more dark after that, so either on this color or a little bit later. Again, I advise you to not take as a reference point the start of the rubber. It might help you to, you know, find out where you are, but if it rains, if it's dark, if it's night, you won't see it. So don't get the start of the tire marks on the road. Stay and get as reference point the grass over here. You will be able to see it in pretty much all the conditions, except if it's dark and your headlights are broken. So, all right. So this is where you want to start to your braking zone. This is one of the most important turns to not miss your braking reference point. Do not try to brake later. It's gonna be terrible. It's one of the worst turns to miss the braking reference point, even by a meter. You just, you know, say, oh yes, I wanna try a little bit more extra hard, and you know, brake a meter later, you're gonna end up wide. I don't know what is going on with this turn. It is terrible. So what you really want to do here is brake sooner if possible, approach the apex of the turn properly, get a better exit. That is what is going to make your lap time. If you try to brake later and end up just a slightly bit wide on this turn, it's the end of it. You're either gonna lose a ton of time, or worst case scenario, you're gonna end up on the grass, which is extremely slippery, and you're gonna lose a lot of time to, or if you know, you might even have an accident going straight into the wall. So again, brake straight, start. You see there is a lot of camber. Start going towards the turn a little bit, don't overdo it, okay? And you really want to arrive right over here on the inner apex, okay? Downshift in second gear, sometimes even first gear, depending on the car. For example, the Ferrari 488 has a particularly long first gear, so downshift down to first gear, and release the brakes once more. So release the brakes, stay here. You're gonna need some extra turning if needed, you know. Again, don't go wide. If you end up wide here, just terrible idea. So first gear, again, a lot of patience. Don't go on the accelerator. Wait. End of the curb, this is where you want to start accelerating. Okay, end of the curb, start accelerating once more. You wanna end up close to the curb, maybe touch the curb. Don't go wide. Again, you're gonna touch with the under tray of your car, the whole car is going to get unbalanced and jump around. You just don't want to go outside of the curb, okay? So just touch the curb over here and go. Now, remember, that's for GT3 cars. The GT4 cars have much more height clearance, ground clearance, sorry. So you can't go over the curbs. But remember, with the GT4 cars, because you are abusing the curbs that much and you go outside and in again and outside and in again, it's also very, very easy to lose a lot of tire pressure. And if you lose a lot of tire pressure, the more you lose, the more vicious cycle begins and you lose even more, and after a while you are into big, big trouble. All right? All right, so let's go. Now, the next turn is tricky. It's technical. It's fast. Okay, it's faster than it looks, but you really need to nail it. So what can we do? It's a third gear turn. If you nail the entrance and you don't overdo it, then the exit is really, really fast. So we approach the turn. We don't brake. We don't brake. You can see there is a lot of sand. Okay, at the outside of the road, over here. You can see the sand over here. You see? There is no grass. It's just like this. Okay, and it ends the whole part. It's like a curb that has taken off. Okay, so we have no grass over here, and it ends exactly right here. So what we want to do is to approach and get closer and closer and closer just before the end. Now, the best of us, you know, they will start braking at the end of this terrain. But just before the end, my advice is just before the end, brake, downshift in third gear, release. Okay, so braking here, downshift third gear, release and just you know, pinch a little bit the brakes, just a tiny bit, as you are approaching the inner apex over here. Once you are right on the inner curb here on the apex, release the brakes, let the car rotate, and go gradually on the accelerator. The whole movement has to be fast, as usual, so I'm not telling you to go, you know, in slow motion like brakes, okay? Release the brakes, rotate, go on the accelerator. No, it has to be fast, so it has to happen like this, but don't do it like that, okay? You don't have to be extremely violent, because if you do it, then the car, you know, you are in third gear, high revs, the car will just raise the nose and go straight forward. So you need to be gradual. So release and go. So it's 1, 2, 1, 2, like that. Why? Again, as I told you, if you go like PAM, instant, then you're going to have big issues of understeer mainly. So if you have done everything correctly, the car should rotate and you should exit on this turn in a sliding, small drift, let's say, with a pretty high exit speed. You can see again how this outside curb is really nasty. Okay, what can I cannot tell you much. Try to avoid it. Otherwise, put it in the underneath of your middle of the car. But you know, it's hard. Okay. Now, right as you exit, you really need to keep turning and go straight away to the left side of the road. Okay. So left side of the road, and we have this grass patch over here again. Go over it, overtake it, and then start to brake. Now you can see that you know, the braking marks and tire marks here start way after. Don't trust them. Don't trust them. Start braking sooner. Why is that? It's true that you can brake really late here, okay, and not have big issues, but that won't make you fast into the following turn. Why is that? Because in theory, you could start braking over here, and then, okay, you will arrive over here, and you won't be able to cut a lot, but you will be able to make the turn pretty much like this. Perfect, right? This is what you need to do. No, if you really want to make this turn faster, okay, you have to brake sooner, a little bit, just as I told you. The sooner braking will permit you to start entering the turn sooner again, because the speed will be slower, okay, so you won't have that much understeer. And as you are entering the turn with a little bit of understeer, release the brakes and point the car. You will see that you have enough lateral force. Point the car to go on the apex over the curb and inside the turn like this. Right, so this is where you want to be with the car. Okay, this is the perfect place. It has enough grip on the outside tires, and it will permit your line on this turn to be wide enough in order to bring enough speed into the turn. If you do it outside, the line will be narrower and the radius will be smaller, and you won't bring enough speed into the turn. Okay, so this kind of line here will bring more speed inside the turn. You can do it even with the GT3 cars, much more easier with the GT4 cars that they are. Again, they have much higher ground clearance, but you shouldn't have problems to do it also with the GT3 cars. Just remember, before entering and positioning your car over the curb in the middle, release the brakes and go slowly on the accelerator so that the car, you know, goes out off the pitch and has enough ground clearance to get the curb underneath. Okay, now this is in second gear, and what follows is one of the most satisfying exits in any circuit I know, because if you have done everything correctly, you will end up into this very long and unwinding exit of the turn, and you can really go inside with second gear, just a tiny bit of, you know, traction control that just keeps the car correct, and a very nice drift, you know, towards the exit, which practically you could almost make the whole turn with your steering wheel almost straight. You know, you just, I mean, you should turn like this. Instead, you will find yourself in giving that kind of steering input. Now, it's satisfying. It's really cool, but it's also slow. So ideally, yes, you can do that, but you really shouldn't do that, you know. You should, you know, move your steering wheel and let your rear tires gain traction, you know. So once you feel that you are sliding too much, don't stay there. Give them some, you know, feedback with the steering wheel in order to get some traction back to the tires, and so that they can move forward. It's very easy to not do that, to just stay here and say, oh, I'm drifting Dorifto time, you know, tofu delivery, and everybody's happy. But in reality, you are losing meters, you're losing accelerator. So outside we go. 10 points for Dorifto over here. And now this is a very important turn, because the exit of the turn brings you to the very, very long back straight. Once again, I don't know what's happening with the British tracks, but it seems that all the British tracks have their longest straight far away from the pits and into the back straight. So this turn over here, it's a very long sweep. It's a medium average speed turn, and as I said, it gets out to a very long straight. That means that you absolutely have to sacrifice the entry speed possibly, and make everything you can in order to get the best possible exit. So how you could do this? My suggestion is try to slow down enough in order to enter a little bit wide. Just don't go directly on the curb over here. This is not your apex. Your apex is a little bit later. Practically is where those this tire, how you want to call it, I don't know, those tires over here. But those tires are collidable objects, and it's very possible that, you know, just after a couple of laps they would just disappear. But this is where your apex is, so it is almost at the end, just before the end of the inner curve. And ideally you want to stay a little bit on the outside, not too much, don't overdo it, because if you overdo it you're gonna slide. Just a little bit. I'm already too much here. I should have been somewhere like this, okay? But still with some space to go inside, you see? I have some space to go inside. And then just before arriving on the apex, and you can see that it almost goes, the radius of the turn is getting smaller, okay? So just at the end you want to rotate the car more, okay? And you want to be able to arrive here before the end of the curve and before that orange guardrail here. You want to be already on the accelerator, rotating the car on the accelerator, okay? Rotating the car on the accelerator. And you want to do that perfectly. You don't want to be in a position that the car, you know, understeer, you find yourself like this here, which means that you have to raise your foot from the accelerator. If you raise your foot from the accelerator before the end of the turn, that means that you have, you know, fucked up and you haven't done the proper line. So what you need to do here is having the car rotated like this, okay? It slides a little bit with the rear end, you know, drifting just a little bit, hard on the accelerator, third gear, and of course you're gonna slide way on the outside, okay? Now, sometimes you're gonna end up also on the green parts over here. It's not that big deal, it's not that big problem here. Just be, you know, aware that if you go inside again, you might lose some pressure on the tires. So, if you have done everything correctly, okay, you should get at the exit full throttle, never lift the throttle from the apex to the exit, and you are right on the very long back straight. Now this is a quite long back straight. That is quite long to, you know, go up to full fifth gear limiter, maybe sixth, depending on the car. And there is a possibility to get slipstream. There is possibility to overtake here. So you really need to nail the exit of this turn. Last thing before we take a break, because we are the middle of the track. It's very easy to get into this back straight and instantly position the car, you know, like this. And you don't want to do this because it's full of marbles, rubber marbles over here, and your tires are going to, you know, pick them up, and you're going to have vibrations and less grip and so on and so on. So you don't want to get them. So, and also, it means that you're going to do more distance, you know, because you're going first like this and then straight. What you really want to do is you really want to look far away into the bridge, far away, and point there like this, and gradually, very, very gradually start doing, you know, and going to the right side of the road. But you really have to do it very gradually. It's very easy to go before that, but you have to do it gradually. This will permit your tires to stay clean from the marbles, and most importantly, to also make less distance than, you know, first going to the side and then straight. Okay, so, all right, so, okay, so let's move on. Okay, so we are back to our Snetterton circuit walk after this small break. And yeah, so we are at the back straight. I'm so thirsty today, I don't know why. So we are at the back straight, and as I said before, we move slowly to the right hand of the road. Federico, maybe after this circuit walk, I think some guy has will make available its server, and maybe we can jump and do a couple of races tonight together, everybody. So stay tuned, maybe you can do it. How fast are the marbles building up in a session? Together with the, I think they build a little bit later than the optimum grip. So you get optimum grip, and then after a while again, depending on how many cars they are lapping, you get the maximum amount of marbles into a session. All right, so we are going into the back straight. We are moving slowly towards the right-hand side of the road. Once again, just, you know, point your car over here and go straight like this. Don't go too soon on the right, okay? And now we are approaching one of the most technical corners of Snetterton. I love it personally. I really like it. It's really, really very nice. The feel that you get when you are doing it correctly is really nice. How to approach this corner? The first orange end of the guardrail here is your first, how to say, reference point to start, you know, approaching and learning this corner. You could brake heavily at the start of this, at the orange of the guardrail here. And if you do so, you can brake very heavily. You will arrive at the turn with very low speed. You can release the brakes completely, make the turn, straight up again, and brake. But we don't want to do that, right? We are experts, we are amazing people, we are great drivers, and only, I don't know, the humidity, you know, make us to not end up in real Formula 1. So, because we are so great drivers, we don't care about this orange task over here. We just go straight ahead. We approach the bridge, okay? And just before going under the bridge, somewhere around here, just before going under the bridge, with some cars, you know, even you could even go almost under the bridge, so you start braking really heavily. 100% brake on the ABS, brake, 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 and go slowly inside. You want to arrive over here, almost as if this was the apex, which is not. But you really want to arrive over here and stay on the inside. Brake, 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 100%. When you arrive just before the start of the curb here, this is where you want to release the brakes and slightly modulate them. You have to stay a little bit on the brakes, okay? But it really has to be like 5–10%. So release the maximum pressure of the brakes here, because otherwise you're gonna end up way wide with understeer. So release the brakes. The moment you do that, you will feel a lot of oversteer. You will feel rotation of the car, okay? You have to release the brakes and counter steer a little bit to control the rotation. But that rotation is what we really need here. That rotation is fantastic. We need the rotation because you see here I'm going slowly and I need all this steering input to make the turn. When you are going to do the lap here and you will be arriving very, very fast, you release the brakes, okay? The car rotates and you will find yourself almost counter-rotating or almost going straight with the steering wheel, but you have to be fast, okay? So you don't like and wait because you're gonna end up wide again. No, you want to turn, release, like this, okay? So keep on pointing the front end on the curb here and control the over rotation, okay? And once you are doing that and you have rotated the car and you arrive like this here, straight back with the steering wheel, hard on the brakes, 100% again. This very tiny space over here, you will be arriving really fast, but incredibly enough, this tiny space over here, when you will go back into 100% braking, okay, your car will be able to slow down just enough to make the next right-hander. So, car is rotated, hard on the brakes, okay, brakes, 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 and start going inside. Because you are braking so hard, it's very easy to stay on the brakes because you are afraid that you're gonna end up wide, and you're rotating, and as you know, tires cannot give both lateral and longitudinal grip at 100%. So if you are staying 100% of the braking and try to turn in, the car will understeer wide. So once more, while you are going in and you start feeling the first symptoms of understeer, be brave. Release the brakes completely. Completely. Release the brakes. I know you think, oh my God, I'm going to end up wide. I'm going to end up outside of the road. I already have understeer. What is this madman is, telling me? Do it. Just release completely the brakes. You'll see that the front end will find tons of lateral grip, and it will point inside here on the apex of this 90 degrees turn. Okay. Obviously, don't go over the sausage here. It's very high. The car will jump a lot, and it's gonna ruin. So what you really want to do is, with a little bit of practice, just end up exactly like this. This is where you want to be. Okay. Right. If you have done everything correctly, right on the apex, right on the top of the turn, you can go hard on the accelerator. You're going to be here either in first or second gear, depending on the car, usually second gear. Okay, so hard on the accelerator, second gear, power oversteer. You're going to exit this turn really, really nicely in power oversteer and straight outside. And stay at the left as much as possible. Okay, look at this turn. It's really, really strange. So practically, the turn is flat at the start and flat at the exit, but right at the apex, there is a dip of the road. So you're gonna experience some understeer at the turn in, lots of grip at the center, and again understeer at the exit. It's a really very strange turn. What you really want to do is, you don't really need to brake here. Enter the turn, release the brakes, release the accelerator. So enter in coasting, okay? And with coasting, you should be able, maybe some telegraph on the accelerator, you should be able to rotate the car pretty well, okay? You can even go over the curb, but it will upset the car. And you might even lose pressure. So do it maybe if you really have practiced on on some qualifying lap, but honestly I would advise against it. You just want to touch the curb over here, okay? Rotate the car again just with the accelerator, don't touch the brakes. Accelerator, maybe some again telegraphing to rotate the car even more, and once the curb finishes, hard on the accelerator. And again, some power oversteer in third gear. All of this is third gear. And you can end up quite wide here. You could end up here. Some cars take it better, some cars take it worse, but you can end up wider from the curve over here. Okay? Now, full acceleration. And what follows is a very, very long right-hander. Extremely long. It keeps on going and going and going, and as it goes, the radius become smaller and smaller and smaller, so you need to scrub speed as you are going into that very long right-hander. And at the end of the turn, not only the radius is smaller, but you also need to brake really hard for the final turn. But let's try to approach it from the start, all right? So my way of approaching this turn is going in sooner. Okay, don't wait outside, go in sooner, go into a very early apex, and you will notice under acceleration, okay, under acceleration, that the car will start to understeer. Stay a little bit on the acceleration while the car drifts outside because you are understeering, okay? And when you realize, okay, that now I'm getting understeer, release the accelerator and go into coasting. Normally the car should rotate. If you find that the car does not rotate enough, a pinch of brake, just pop, pop, maybe just as if your foot has some ABS incorporated, so just pop, pop with the brake, and that should permit your car to rotate even more. So you're gonna end up a little bit wide like this, and at some point the car will rotate, and once you see the car rotating like that, you can go on the accelerator again. And going into the accelerator, you should have scrubbed enough speed to permit the power of the engine to initiate a slight drift. And that slight drift is what will permit your car to rotate once more and stay closer to the white line. Okay. Don't let that curb, inner curb, fool you and go over it. Just stay close to the white line here. Approaching those cones here, which are after the inside curb that we just saw, those cones might not exist after a couple of laps, but at least remember the inner curb, you go over the inner curb and the radius becomes even smaller of the turn. You might experience some extra understeer again once more. The power of the engine won't be enough. So you might experience some understeer. At that point, start modulating the accelerator. Less, more, less, more. Just make it so that, you know, staying on the accelerator, but by modulating up and down, you stay close into the white line here. Ideally, you want at the third cone to have rotated the car and start braking. Now, the third cone won't be there, probably. So you need once more to find out some paths on the grass to help you out. It's very hard, but as you can see, there is this paths on the grass right on the cone. What can I tell you? Do the best you can. One thing that might help you is that, as you can see, there is a lot of turn, and that turn practically ends and becomes almost a straight line after that third cone. All those visual clues together might help you to understand that, okay, I'm here, and this is where you really want to start braking. 100% braking. Try to not drive the car to the outside too much or to the inside. Try to, while you are braking 100%, to give as less steering input as possible. So as less steering input as possible, because obviously the less the steering input, the better your and shorter your braking distance will be. If you have done everything correctly, you shouldn't end up this wide. You should end up somewhere closer to the middle of the road, okay? And that will permit you to release the brakes and go in, okay? And like this, a little bit of patience. Don't go instantly with the accelerator. This curb once more at the outside is pretty nasty. With the GT4 cars, you just go outside and lose all the pressure, but at least you survive and you are faster. With the GT3 cars, it's better, you know, to not overdo it and stay inside the road and outside. That was the last turn, and this is not a turn practically. So here you are, one lap at Snetterton track, right? Really, really extremely technical circuit. One bend is not the same with the other. Most of them are later apex, stable apex. Roads goes up and down in dips, in very slight dips inside the turns. Nasty curbs. Really, really very hard stuff, okay? So let's do a couple of laps just to show you everything in speed. Let me know, guys, if you have any questions or if you like the this circuit walk. Oh. I was doing the whole inertia of drift and I was thinking about initial D. Nani the fuck? Can't say drift. Ridiculous. Drift. I was reading someone in the chat asking me, Aris, are you following WRC Rally? And I was like, you know, full counters to lock. Oh, I don't know, you tell me.
Yellow flag, be careful there. Yellow flag in sector 3.
Thank you, mate.
Is that GT4's up ahead, Aris, or is that just slow?
Sorry?
Is that GT4's up ahead? Oh, yeah.
Car on the right.
If I'm in the GT4, no, GT3.
No, the cars you just passed.
Yes, I think so, yes. Oh, come on, Aris. And that's the end of it. Ah, 47 flat.
Nah. Nothing validated. Yellow flag in sector 2.
Yep.
Nice, nice. 6 minutes. Should I try another one? No, I'm too tired. I'm too old. I'll take it.
Why Aris ahead of us?
I'll take it. 47 flat. It's good for me.